Can you give us a sense of the geography people are going to be able to traversing? And this is actually the first time that someone actually would be able to look at everything as a connected world in a Gears game.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. You know, the game is set around the city of Halvo Bay, and Halvo Bay is inspired a little bit by sort of San Diego. It's a coastal town. The Onyx Guard are headquartered here, where they train and where they learn, and that's the elite forces. You know, very similar to the Navy SEALs in San Diego. And so, you know, for the first time ever in Gears, we're really centered the entire story around this town. So you'll be in various locations, but you're always there. And so it gave us the opportunity to really kind of build that entire city up, you know, as opposed to just the area you're playing in. And we didn't need to, you know, we needed to worry about kind of how everything fit together, which was new for us. But it's cool because it allowed us to build these like really awesome vistas and give you kind of a different sense of a place. You know, in Gears, you were always traveling. You know, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And now we kind of like settled it down, and you're in one place, and you get to kind of take that in and learn, you know, a little bit more about how that city sort of functions and is set up, which I think is pretty interesting.
Even just the two levels here, Museum and Mansion, shows a very different type of environmental gameplay. Can you just talk a little bit briefly about that?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of variety. I mean, so we started a museum, which starts in a city, eventually moves into this big cog museum where they have lots of artifacts and things. And then Mansion is set kind of out in the suburbs, you know, where the affluent people of society lived. You know, they had the bigger houses and the nicer stuff. There's also a bunch of other locations you'll go that are all very unique and very interesting and different. And so, you know, while we're set in one city, we wanted to keep it kind of changing and keep a lot of variety. We wanted to build areas where you had big vistas and could kind of see, you know, big chunks of the city. We wanted you to be intimate and be in alleyways, and then we wanted to be indoors and outdoors. And so, you know, we had to look at all these different kind of locales and figure out how to kind of, you know, mesh them together through flow and pacing to make it all feel kind of new and interesting to players.
Can you give us a sense of the conflict that's going on internally between some of the characters? Obviously, it's a tribunal, but there's some bad blood from the Pendulum Wars as well that's going on here.
Yeah, sure. So you have Cole and Baird. You know, everyone knows Cole and Baird. Baird's sort of the very smart, sort of wise, smart-ass character, and Cole is kind of the guy who sort of grounds him. You know, Cole's essentially almost always an optimist. You know, you never hear him complaining. He's ready to take on whatever challenge is in front of him. We have two new characters. So we have Sophia Hendrick, who is a an Onyx cadet. She's just sort of recently got out of the Onyx Academy. She's very idealistic, you know, and she's very, you know, sort of, she's a rookie, right? So she hasn't been tainted by the spoils of war. So she wants to do everything right. And then we have Paddock. Now, Paddock was in the UIR army and fought against the COG for years and years and years in the Pendulum Wars. When those wars ended, the COG opened up the ability for anybody from the UIR to kind of come over, you know, and join peacefully. And so he took that on when the Locust sort of rose up out of the ground because he almost knew nothing other than fighting. But he's the grizzled old veteran that doesn't care about his superiors, and he just wants to do things the way he thinks they need to be done. And so you have a lot of conflict, not only because of his background as a UIR against the COG, but then you have conflict between him and Sophia, because Sophia is, you know, very pure and very new, and he just doesn't care. You know, he just wants to get things done and finish it.
And when it comes to someone that's going to pick this up in March, what tips or advice would you give to them in playing the campaign?
Be ready for challenge. You know, think about when you're playing it and make sure that you're taking cover and you're not letting yourself die, and you're using the environment strategically. And that's really what it's going to take to get through the game successfully. And just enjoy it. You know, the number one thing I want people to get from the game is fun. You know, I just want them to have a good time playing the game and not get bogged down in too many other concerns and worries.
Well, we got to play it with single player, but when you're playing 4-player co-op, what are some strategies that you would advise with having all 4 players on the screen?
Yeah, you know, there's lots of different scenarios. You always want to support each other, you know, get some guys flanking if possible, always focus on the high priority enemy, the guy's going to do the most damage, communicate. There are these really interesting sections of the campaign where you have to defend an area, and this is kind of new. We kind of call them dynamic defense scenarios. It's a little bit of some horde elements mixed in from Gears of War 3 in taking some lessons that we learned from Gears of War 3 where you have to defend an area, and there's some fortifications set up, and you have these sentries to deploy. And so really working as a team there is really important. If you have 1 or 2 guys manning one sentry, you know, 1 or 2 guys on the other side manning another sentry, and keep that thing running. It runs out of ammo, so you have to reload it. You're going to be a lot more successful if you kind of work together in that fashion.